Our election coverage, there were 4 amendments to our state constitution on the ballot for all of Louisiana voters. To help break down the results, Colin Vidros is here. So Colin, what do these amendments do?
Well, Jay, there are 4 amendments, and each offering separate changes to our state's constitution. We'll go from allowing the state legislature to create specialty courts to sweeping tax code or sweeping changes to that tax code, then to allowing lawmakers the ability to choose what crimes juveniles will be charged as adults under, and finally to changing the timing requirements for special elections. And with just under 98% of precincts reporting, how do these measures fare? So let's take a look at Constitutional Amendment 1, and you'll kind of see these as far as the margin of how much of these votes were cast. So 64% saying no to Amendment 1, and that's what we mentioned earlier about that, with followed by 35%. Let's go over to Amendment 2. Kind of a similar situation here. You have 64% saying no and 36% saying yes. So that Amendment 2, so that was something that Governor Landry has been touting as a critical ballot item for the economic growth here in Louisiana. Now, I got with our political analyst, Greg LaRose with Louisiana Illuminator, about what this means for the state moving forward and what can we expect as a result.
So I don't know necessarily that you're going to see like more or less spending. I tell you, there's a press on the governor now who will be asked to support, and lawmakers for that matter as well. Teachers and school support workers have enjoyed stipends for the past 2 years. The whole idea, the sweetener, if you will, for Amendment 2 was to essentially make those stipends permanent. Now, lawmakers and the governor have a hard decision to make as to whether or not they're going to sustain that.
Moving over to Amendment 3, some saw back and forth at the voters' booth, but also that one also failed. Again, similar margin here, 65% saying no, 34% saying yes. So again, with Greg LaRose about what this result entails. Take a listen.
If I were to point to one amendment that had doomed the other 3, it would be Amendment number 3, because that's what triggered groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Vera Institute for Justice. They threw a lot of money. That's national sources that threw a lot of money to defeat number 3.
And now finally, there's Amendment 4. This one targets how the state handles our special elections. And just like the other 3, 62%, all 4 saying no, followed by 37% with that yes. And with all 4 of these amendments failing to pass the voters' ballots, I got with Greg for his overall reaction to the state voting no on each one of those amendments.
We had an idea that it would be close, and we knew that there were concerted efforts to defeat all 4. Which was pretty unique, that you didn't see opposition kind of concentrating on 1 or 2, but all 4. So to see the margins, as we're continuing to count votes late into the night, I wouldn't be surprised to see the opposition prevail with like 2/3 of the vote. So that, I think, stands out to me the most at this point.
Now, only time will tell how the state legislature will respond to the denial of these amendments. We'll keep you posted as we learn more. Jay, we'll send it back to you.